Hi everyone and welcome back. We'll be starting our next event. It is a lightning talk with Agile Network India by Noopur Pathak. She'll be facilitating this event. And before moving on to the session, I would like to thank our founding sponsor, Innovation Roots. It is a leading consulting and training service provider helping organizations to achieve business agility and beyond. It is one of the leaders and pioneers of niche publishing services and well known for content collaboration with global thought leaders, authors, and creators. For more information, visit www.innovationroots.com. I would also like to thank our sponsor, Agile, which is a product offering from Tata Consultancy Services Limited. It is a purely cloud based enterprise agile planning tool along with DevOps capabilities. Enterprise can use Agile to adopt agile practices or scale across multiple Scrum and Kanban teams using enterprise scaling frameworks such as SAFe, Disciplined Agile, Less, and more. You can try out Agile for free for up to 20 users for 30 days by signing up at agile.io or reach out to us for any inquiries or exclusive product demo. Check out the Agile page on Agile Network India website for more information. Here are some quick do's and don'ts for the participants. Join the event 5 minutes before the start time. Use high quality speakers or headphones for better sound quality. Please keep your microphones muted and videos disabled as this may cause disturbance and bandwidth issue. Questions will be taken via the chat box. Please enter your questions in the chat box. At the end of the session, the facilitator or the moderator will help and read out a few questions to the speaker as per the time available. Please fill in the feedback forms after the event to help us understand more about the event management. And we appreciate your cooperation. So without much making further delay, I would like to call upon Nupur. Hi Nupur.
Hi, Nisha. Thank you so much for the brief introduction. And I'm quite excited about this lightning talk session. And as we can see, we have Jairam Hegde with us, who is going to speak about the impact of pandemic in the agile transformation journey with us. You all can share your questions for his session in the chat box. Once he's done, we can pick up some questions from the chat box and get them answered by Jairam. So let me just tell you briefly about this lightning talk. We have two short sessions. One is by Jairam, and the second one is post Jairam. We have another session by Badri Srinivasan. So let's begin with our first lightning talk with Jay. Over to you, Jay. Looking forward to hear some amazing experiences about your agile transformation journey.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. First of all, thanks everyone for spending time on Sunday to join this session. Appreciate that. So before I begin my conversation around my experience on agile transformation in the pandemic world, so just a brief intro about me. I am an agile coach with one of the banking company. I've been working in this transformation for about 5 years, 5 years now, mainly on the only on the coaching space. So as you know that the pandemic, right? So we have been hit with this pandemic for about 18, more than 18 months now, right? So we have been into uh, multiple lockdowns across the world, wave three, wave two in some places, and all that. But if at all you look at the way we have transformed from the wave one to the current wave, starting 2019, early 2019. So I have seen tremendous amount of adaptability and a tremendous amount of grit that people and organization has shown in this pandemic situation. So I thought probably this is something which I can share with all of you based upon what I have seen, what I have experienced in this community from last 18 months or so. So yeah, that's where I am. Um, so just to begin my uh, lightning talk, right? So agile transformation. Many of you know why we do go for transformation, right? It's for achieving business agility. better adaptability, and responding to the market conditions so that we thrive and succeed in generating the business for our customers with highly reliable or maybe cost effective solutions, or maybe sometimes it may not happen, but at least it is more about ensuring we are delivering something for business at early and continuous manner, right? So what I've seen from last 18 months is, okay, it has put us all into the same spot, right? So it's no offshore, no onshore kind of engagement now, because everyone is working virtually across the location, be it India, be it US, be it UK, or any other part of the world, right? So everyone is stuck in a pandemic. So pandemic is same for everyone. So yeah, there is no change, right? So, but in terms of the way things have evolved, right? So I see two parts. One is about impact on the culture, and one is on impact on the way we have adopted basically, right? So in terms of culture, right? So India, specifically India or any other country who is in APAC region, it comes with highly um, highly rigid hierarchical structure, or more of a, I would call, um, not so flat structure in terms of the organization, the way we operate, right? But in other countries, probably especially in Europe, or maybe some part of northern or southern America, you would see a different way of operating, different way of reaching to the customer, right? Because of the processes, because of the people and the cultural aspects, right? But what I've seen during this pandemic is, we as Indians, or we in APAC region, we have been highly reliable, highly approachable, and at the same time ensuring we are up for the new challenges. We are up for the new initiatives to pick it up, new engagements to manage, right? So I don't see offshore or onshore being such a significant factor now, because of, apart from cost, I don't see there is any other challenges, because we as offshoring, because India is considered as offshoring center, right, for most of our uh, our IT engagements. I don't see that is happening now, because we have been working and collectively working with uh, the our counterparts in other locations, and at the same time it has opened up lot many avenues for practitioners and companies to work with a global audience. They can exchange their thoughts. We are seeing a lot of uh, webinars, lot of conferences. Everything has become virtual. There is no physical touch at all. Everything has become virtual. So you are just away from someone who is probably in US or probably in UK, just by a click of a button. You can just speak to them. You can just have a word with them. You can just have a lean coffee. You can just have a connection or conversation with probably a CTO or a CEO who is probably part of some other geography, right? So that engagement, the kind of exchange of thoughts, exchange of knowledge, is become widespread. So everyone is available literally at any point in time, right? So it has definitely opened up lot many opportunities for change agents, coaches, and agile consultants to hone their skills, facilitation skills, and come up with a lot many tools which works on this virtual setup, and the awareness of technology, awareness of new facilitation techniques. Liberating structure has become quite famous, and you have lot many tool based facilitation techniques, like there is something called safe collaborate, if at all you have explored it, which is visual metaphor based techniques where you can easily connect with people across the world, right? So all these things have come up. The engagement has increased. You are able to do enterprise-wide retrospection, enterprise-wide inspect and adopt conversations, and yes, everything becomes visual. So fortunately, Agile is all about visual-based management, right? So it comes from the lean techniques where it talks about focusing on people and looking at a system thinking approach, right? So when you are connecting visually, things are becoming evident for people to have that conversation, for people to have that courageous discussion. So yeah, I see a lot of avenues because of the COVID-19 pandemic, where world has become small. You are able to easily connect with others. You are able to easily exchange your thoughts, and at the same time, uh, probably have more trainings, more facilitation-oriented conversation, and hear from other parts of the world, and at the same time showcase, yeah, these are things we can do as Indians. We are actually connecting with the global audience much better than before. So that is a significant improvement that I see. And in terms of organization, I see leadership has responded it brilliantly, especially in terms of being an empathetic listener, ensuring people are given priority in this pandemic situation where the family is facing health issues, uh, and immediate dependents, or the family are going through some kind of health related issues due to lot of COVID cases across India, and all that. So you see leadership has coming up with their own way of managing things for betterment of employee engagement, employee satisfaction in the workplace, and at the same time, in most cases, if you have witnessed, IT is the only place which is less affected by this pandemic when compared to other industries. The reason is you are more reliant on the tools and the techniques that you need to work on, but at the same time, it has increased employee engagement, employee satisfaction has increased because uh, yeah, you are able to connect to the wider audience, wider SME group or expertise group, right? So I think the learning part of it, I think that is a significant improve, and and at the same time, it has opened up opportunities where leaders can become vulnerable. It and in fact, pandemic is a situation which could not have been which could have been much worse if at all the companies and the leadership have not responded it so well. So we have seen significant improvement in the market capitalization and the revenues and adaptability and all that, and all because of leadership, and at the same time the way they responded to people's questions, people's concerns. And I think empathetic listening, empathetic the practices which anything related to the employee engagement and employee satisfaction, I think that's where we are seeing a lot of improvements. And in most places, what I have seen is even in my organization, we are actually going to a flexible model, which is a hybrid model where you are given an option to work probably twice or thrice, 2 or 3 days in a week from office, and you can connect anywhere from anywhere for rest of the days, because that model is here to stay, because people can work from any part of the world. There is nothing stopping, right? So probably organization have shown that adaptability, that maturity, that okay, yes, probably we have to go away from our standard way of operating. Maybe we need to look at more employee engagement model oriented conversation rather than having it our standard workplace oriented approaches. So I see a lot of avenues have opened up, a lot of opportunities have opened up, and even I see job market also has started increasing because of all this. And yeah, I see lot of positive outcomes, and at the same time, this pandemic effect is here to stay. The hybrid model community practices where you are connecting with the global audience in a literally virtual mode. I think these are here to stay, and you would probably see um, some more time where people may not be going with comfortable going with a physical based interaction, but they're still comfortable to have their virtual conversation. So I think yeah, that's pretty much I wanted to cover, and yeah, that's all about it. Unless there are any questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jairam, for briefly covering your experiences of how transformation got impacted during pandemic. We have a question by RC Goyal. He is asking, when work from home has been quite successful, then why thought about hybrid model?
Yeah. So there are probably two parts to it. One is about managing the current infrastructure the organization has, and at the same time, some of the organization level policies. For example, I'm working in a bank which is highly compliant regulatory environment. So you can probably work in a remote setup for long, but at the same time, you are actually vulnerable for cyber security related concerns, right? So you need to have that super fast connectivity, and at the same time, your machine or the laptop that you are, the workplace connectivity that you have, are having all those bandwidth related issues, and everything is managed. The infrastructure I'm talking about. So. Uh, the focus is to ensure employee engagement is increased, which definitely can happen when you're working from remote. But at the same time, we have been working in this setup for about 2 years now, and it was not something everyone was used to, this environment. So that physical touch is definitely required. That physical conversation is definitely required. Just to give an example, probably the thing that you may just solve in a couple of minutes by having a quick chat, just walking through his or her desk of your colleague, and getting that answered. Now probably you need to check whether your colleague is available, whether he's online or she's online, and then have a chat about it, right? Because there is a wait time. Definitely there is a wait time. So these kind of things have probably increased significantly during this pandemic, where you are most of the days, if you have seen the pattern, your work hours is getting increased because of all these wait times and the delays, which is not a pleasant thing. Though you are exhausted by end of the day, um, that can actually affect your moral, maybe the health condition always, right? So I see definitely work from home is helping, but at the same time, the side effects of it for extended duration, it can cause some implications on your work style, and at the same time, the way uh, agile transformation, or agile practices expect you to have that physical rapport, physical connectivity, right? I think that's where I'm seeing a lot many people are going with the hybrid approach. They're not denying it. Work from home is not is a challenge. They're admitting, yes, yeah, it is here to stay, but at the same time, they want to see people coming so that that interaction also is continued. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Jairam. So, before we close this discussion, I would like to understand from you what is that one particular practice during which you have implemented during this pandemic duration you would like to carry forward and apply it in your future work style as well. Uh, no matter we are still in pandemic or out of it, but you think that should be there, that should be continued.
Yeah, definitely. I think this pandemic situation has opened up uh, some of it has actually given an opportunity for us to inspect what are we doing uh, incorrectly, or what are we not doing so well. I'm talking about probably me being an agile coach, so we have to work with our counterparts across the locations, right? So which we were doing earlier. But now we have to even connect with people uh, who were in the same location earlier, but now they are in a remote setup, right? So we have to establish that new skill set, that soft skill, the way to interact with people in a virtual mode, literally virtual mode. You need to give them space. You need to understand which probably space they are coming from. Are they are they comfortable enough to have that conversation today, or do you want to give them some space for that you can have that similar conversation at maybe at a later time? I think that those soft skills, the decision making, and those conflict resolution and negotiation related conversations, I think that is something which cannot happen which cannot happen in a virtual mode uh, earlier, but now there is no other way. You have to do it, right? Because you are in this work environment for some more time, so you have to build on it. If at all you're not comfortable, probably you have to learn something and still try it, right? So it has opened up all those possibility. It actually has opened up my vulnerable space, right? I know, okay, yeah, something I'm not good at. Yeah, probably it's time for me to learn that, so that I'm able to be a better communicator, better connector, and orator at so and so forum, so that I can actually influence the people that I talk to. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. That was wonderful, Jairam. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing your experiences. And if at all, if we get more questions, we'll get them answered by you. So thank you once again for connecting with us for this lightning talk, Jairam.
No worries. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you.
With that, we move on to our next session by Badri and Srinivasan. Hi, Badri. Are you there?
Hello.
Yeah, we can see you, Badri. And now over to you. Please let us know about what are you going to talk about and what experience you are going to share with us.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Noopur. So I just will share my screen. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to the session. So I'll be talking about something that we have already discussed in the last session, just adding a different perspective on that. So, as it's a lightning talk, I would like to call it as the session on toothpaste, black swan, and agility. So this is what I'm going to talk about. So musings in a post-pandemic world, and this is the important thing that I would like to focus on. So before we start, I thought just let me. Can anybody say what is the connection here? I'm trying to throw some ideas around, and I would like to stimulate you with some lot of thoughts and findings which will help you to plan for the future. So, can anybody say what's the connection here?
New ideas is one of the response, Badri.
Okay, okay. So yeah, new ideas. Okay. So yeah, the connection is like this. So let me tell a small story here. So it goes on like this. Duck is agile. Okay, okay. Not bad. So let me start off with this. So the story goes like this. I hope all of you are reading the newspapers and other things, right? So even in today's paper, so the Odisha High Court, formerly known as Odisha, the Odisha High Court, they came up with a statement. I don't want to call it as a ruling, but they came up with a statement that uh, the information in the public domain is like toothpaste. It was a remarkable analogy that set me thinking that when they said information in the public domain is like a toothpaste, it means that we use the toothpaste every day to brush our teeth. So morning we get up, we open the toothpaste and then we pour it on the brush and then use it. But what happens to that after that? That toothpaste is that whatever we have taken out is gone. So Odisha High Court, in a very nice and beautiful metaphor, has told that all information in the public domain is like toothpaste, not necessarily public domain, whether it's a private domain or the hybrid domain, cloud domain, whatever domain. You can try to protect it to some level, but beyond that, I think you cannot protect it further, and there could be some leakage of information. But wherever the information is there, we need to consider data like toothpaste. It was a remarkable analogy, so I thought, okay, That's a very good thing which has happened, and which gains more importance and significance in the post-pandemic world. So I'm referring here to the pre-pandemic world and the post-pandemic world. So in the post-pandemic world, the focus on toothpaste, I mean data like toothpaste is not that much important, even though it's not a new concept. Any picture you put on the net, somewhere it is found and it cannot be erased so easily. I mean, you can never erase it, is what is the myth or even a fact. So now that has taken on more proportions and it's become more important, and toothpaste has data like toothpaste is more critical, especially in the post-pandemic world. And this is a black swan. So when we say black swan, we are reminded of a person called Nassim Nicholas Taleb, a former Wall Street trader who became very famous writing lots of books. And this one book he wrote, Fooled by Randomness, in 2001, where he talked about a black swan event, an event that is very unpredictable, very difficult to predict. We may not even think that it exists. That's one attribute of a black swan event. The other attribute is that it can have very far-reaching, severe consequences. A lot of difficulties happen because of this event. If and when it occurs, the impact of it is severe and catastrophic. And the third attribute of this black swan event is that it's very difficult to say that I didn't think of it. So once the event has occurred, in hindsight, we might say that, yeah, I think this should have happened and this is how it occurred and all. So it's called hindsight bias. So because of hindsight bias, we might say that, yeah, I thought this COVID thing will occur. So the COVID is a black swan event. Because of COVID, data has become like toothpaste. And because of that, agility is impacted. That's the connection between all this. So you see, across all this, in the post-pandemic world, as you think about it, the musings, you can see that there is a connection between all this, and all of this has impacted agility. So agility in the pre-pandemic world was more like face-to-face interactions. The Agile manifesto and the Agile principles, everything gets impacted. So we say face-to-face interactions, most critical thing as Agile values and principles that as per the Agile manifesto. But because of this pandemic and the focus on data as toothpaste, everything has got changed, and now Agile has completely undergone a transformation. So in a post-pandemic world, we will be having lots of different things that happen. So let me give you some more ideas on how this is going to impact. So as we move forward, uh, we have lots of different factors that influence an organization. So an organization that is practicing agility, the pre-pandemic world and in the post-pandemic world. So in the pre-pandemic world, we had all these variables, the same variables we are having in the post-pandemic world also. So let's see how the impact happens. So in the post-pandemic world, we have all these factors that are affecting the organization. These are the people with a set of skills, the agile teams with different skill levels. So you have the T-shaped skills, pie-shaped skills, and other types of skills. Then you have leadership in the post-pandemic world, how they are getting influenced and all. Then you have motivation, you have behaviors, how people get motivated, how people are depressed because of pandemic, how all these impact the organization. And then you also have one of the most important things which we already discussed in the earlier sessions, the focus on environment, physical environment and virtual environment. You have an important concept, an idea which I'd like to introduce, work from home. So we already discussed on that. So work from home is also a thing that's impacting the organization. And so if these are the things, you have a physical environment where you have face-to-face discussions, and you have a virtual environment where you have discussions on the virtual mode. So you need to have good communication technologies to discuss and collaborate. So then you have rewards, motivation, incentives, behavior, how it impacts, and you need to be able to collaborate well. So collaboration, communication, very critical for you to decide how to implement agility in the organization as we move in the post-pandemic world. And we also have disruptive innovation. Because of this, there are lots of innovations that are happening in the post-pandemic world, and the disruptive innovation affects the organization to a great extent. So we need to look at all these from different perspectives. Now, having said that, the last factor which we need to look at is complex adaptive system. So we have uh, agile teams as complex adaptive systems which operate, face-to-face basis. They have discussions and they do a lot of things. So they operate as a complex adaptive system. But now with the pandemic and the post-pandemic world, a lot of things have changed. So how do these complex adaptive systems as agile teams operate to deliver value for the organization? So all these things impact the organization tremendously, and we need to see how these can have an everlasting impact on one of the most important things, which will come in the center. So can anybody say what will come in the center of the slide? So all these are various important variables which impact the organization. So there is an invisible thread or a glue which binds all these together. So what is that? What is it that is getting really impacted in the post-pandemic world? Can anybody guess what that is? I will pause here. Let me see if we get some answers on the chat. Can anybody say what could be the glue which impacts the organization based on all these variables, especially in the post-pandemic world? Mental agility, okay. Need to manage the new scenario, okay. Yes, but what is the critical factor that affects the organization based on all these variables in the post-pandemic world? Any other guesses? Okay, people's attitude, adaptability. Okay, good. Let me say what the most important and the obvious thing, which maybe is left out. So all these variables impact the center that's made up of all these things in the organization. So what is this called? This is called nothing but the organizational culture. So we have been seeing a lot of things we have seen, but we have forgotten about the organizational culture. So whenever we join an organization, we have a lot of things related to the culture of the organization. So we have a lot of variables which impact the organization. Pre-pandemic world also the same variables impacted. Post-pandemic world also the same variables are impacting the organization. That is nothing but the organizational culture. So I think we have forgotten this thing. So this is the critical thing, which is the glue, which is the invisible glue that affects an organization and which cannot be copied. This is something like do not copy. You can copy all the other things around this circle, but you cannot copy the center thing. You cannot copy an organizational culture of Amazon and put it in Google and say this is how we work, or Google to Microsoft and say this is how we work. So the organizational culture remained the same pre-pandemic and post-pandemic for every single organization. But what is the change? The change is affecting the organizational culture. Where we earlier told this is how we work, this is what we do, this is what we see, it was all based on visual and direct physical face-to-face communication. Now that is gone. You have wiped it clean off the slate. So how do you get that back? So that's where the critical thing lies. The organizational culture is definitely impacted. This is the invisible glue which impacts based on all these variables in an organization. And because of the post-pandemic, the organizational culture still stays there. But how does this happen? So now we have new ways of communication, mostly work from home. We have different ways of thinking. We have technology. We have collaboration. All these things we do. So let me just go back to some more ideas here. So one thing which I'd like to bring about here is about some famous people and some not so famous people. So the first one is Peter Drucker. Peter Drucker was a management consultant, and he was quite famous for writing a lot of books. And one of his famous quotes is very oft quoted, which has almost become a trite remark now, is culture is strategy for breakfast. So organizational culture is so important that it can eat strategy for breakfast. So that's the important thing that we need to look at. So culture is strategy for breakfast. Yes, obviously. So how do you manage the culture in a post-pandemic world? That is an important idea to think about. The other aspect that we have to look at is, okay, if that is the case, the second set of principles which I just wanted to bring about is, there is another famous person called Craig Larman. So Craig Larman was one of our agile gurus and also who had mentored us. He had also mentored me along with Priyank. So we were mentored by him. And Craig Larman talks about the Larman's law of organizational behavior. So he talks about some two critical things. So he says that organizational culture depends on maintaining the status quo. It is not looking at changing it. And as a corollary to the first part, he says that in case you introduce a change initiative in the organization, it is incumbent on the existing staff, the middle management and other people, to kill that change and maintain the status quo. So whatever new words you want to use and other things you want to say, you may still call it, but still they'll maintain the status quo, and that's how they kill that. So it's not so easy. So what he meant was, it's not easy to bring about change unless you focus on the organizational culture And that in turn depends on one more construct called the organizational structure. So now what happens to the organizational structure? Pre-pandemic world, you had the physical structures, you had the buildings, you had the cabins, you had the boxes where people used to sit. Some people used to sit outside and all that. But in the post-pandemic world, that's also wiped clean on the slate. There is no organizational structure as such. The structure which is there is now moving. You have a moving structure. So you have something like uh, things which change. You could see the structures moving. It's completely mobile. You have people working from home, people working from office. So the structures are moving. So you have structures which are, you could say, shape shifting. The shape shifters, I call them the shape shifters. So where you had the cabin does not exist. Where you had the office does not exist. You work from home today, tomorrow you work from office. It could be anything. So you are the shape shifters. So how do the shape shifters enable the organizational structure to do better? So these are remarkable concepts that we need to think, that structure influences culture, culture influences strategy, and that is how the organization is built upon all this. And to top it all, we have another less famous person, which maybe you may not have seen, Conway's law. So Melville Conway was a researcher, and in 1967, maybe 40 50 years back, or even 60 years back, you could say, he came up with the fact that organizational uh, design. So the design made by organization, or a design created by organization, depends on the communication structure of the organization. So this again created a big change. But now all that has vanished. So are these things still relevant in the post-pandemic world? Face-to-face interactions, organizational structure, organizational strategy in a different way. So we need to see in the post-pandemic world how these shapeshifters can manage this and contribute to a bigger organizational structure that would be really remarkable to copy. Means remarkable to implement and also very difficult to copy. And those will be the new organizations that will thrive in the post-pandemic world. So I think as part of that, Google, Amazon, Facebook, Netflix, all these GAFA organizations, Apple, they have already taken the first step forward, and they have told and communicated to all the people that there is nothing like office. You can work from home, you can work from office. It does not matter. Please focus on how to manage it all accordingly. And they have started to build remarkable organizational structures through the form of virtual work environments, which are like you could say like collaboration, where we look at the collaboration through the lens of a virtual environment. Better communication tools like Skype, lots of tools are coming, Soon, Zoom, and lots of new startups are coming which are capitalizing on this to see how people could communicate. And we also have other things which take this forward. So these are some of the important things we need to look at in a post-pandemic world, how these things change. Of course, with the organizational culture that we need to see how to manage. So coming to the last slide. Okay, just another 2-3 minutes and I will wrap up. So what I wanted to say was, given all these factors that influence an organization in the post-pandemic world, so what is the future? So I wanted to just hypothesize, I mean, just surmise and say that the future belongs to the home office. So now you are seeing a picture here. Earlier, when you saw this picture, you will think that the person is working from office. But now you cannot say whether she is working from office or she is working from home. There's no way you can make out. You might think this is office, but actually she is working from home. This is her home office. So the future belongs to the home office. All organizations, if they have to survive, they will have to say that you can work from office or you can work from home. The dinosaurs, the organizations are those dinosaurs who say you have to work only from office. That paradigm is gone. The COVID paradigm, the COVID black swan event destroyed that concept of working from office only. So earlier when we say I'm working from home, people would give a snide remark and they will laugh or they will smile and they say, okay, I understand. You are working for home. Okay, I got it. And you cannot take work from home, and a lot of ladies could not work from home because of various genuine reasons. They used to think they are just bunking, and those who are sitting in the office 9 to 9, they are working more hours and all that. But actually, it's not the case. It does not work like that. So things have changed. The pandemic completely gave a different twist to the existing concept, and it blew everything apart, saying that work from home and work from office both are equally effective and efficient. And for every single person who says work from office, there is one more person who is saying I would like to work from home. So there is no way you can distinguish between these two. The war between good and good will continue, and both of them will survive and thrive in the future. So if you see that, as I wrap up, the last quote which I wanted to say was, can anybody say what happened? I mean, What was there in 1970? Please don't think of any cataclysmic events or other events. I'm just talking about something that happened in 1970, which is linked to this post-pandemic era. So, any guesses here before I wrap up? Okay, I think it's the end of the day, so let me just go ahead. I don't want to tire your brain cells further. So 1970, yeah, 1970 was when Alvin Toffler, I hope all of you know Alvin Toffler is a very important, famous scientist, futurist, a futurist. It's a new designation title that was already in existence earlier. A futurist in US who predicted and wrote the book, The Future Shock, and lots of other books which are very famous. So he told that change is a trauma, so it's very difficult to manage change, and we have to overcome this trauma to move forward in life and go ahead. And he had predicted this long time back, long time back, without even knowing this black swan event of COVID would occur. And that is why his quotes are still relevant today and very important. And that is what I would like to say, that in the year 2030, I mean, I'm just predicting, guess that the home office will become more stable, and we would all be doing both this from any part of the world. So that's how it's going to happen. Of course, as I close, some other remarks I just wanted to add. We also have the hologram. So the holographic image which Sundar Pichai in Google conference showed, and even Microsoft people showed. So all these people showed that. So the future could be that in case you're not able to make it physically, your holographic image would be there, and you'll be able to connect to that. And whatever you speak from your house, that physical image, I mean, almost physical image will do on the stage for you along with other physical participants. So you will not be able to make out who is physical, who is virtual. And that's what is going to happen. And the home office is what's going to be the future. I think with this, I will wrap up with the last quote by another great person called Ray Amara. So Amara was another famous scientist in the US. So he is called Amara's law. So Amara's law told that we humans are quite bad at predicting the near future. I mean, sorry, the the long-term future, but we are quite good at predicting the near future. So we can say that we overestimate for the near future, but we underestimate the long term. So what I'm saying for 2030, I may have underestimated. So maybe something more will happen, and something even more remarkable could be there by 2030. But this is just the quote I just wanted to say before I sign off. So I think with this, I have given you a lot of room to think about ideas in a post-pandemic world, and how agility is going to be affected because of all of this, and how organizational culture is going to play a very key role in managing all these things. So with these ideas which you could think about on how this will impact your daily work-life balance, I just complete my lightning talk. I think it's more or less time. So yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Badri. It was very interesting. Some amazing analogies you have bring forth while discussing this black swan toothpaste and agile, and the kind of connection you have built with all three was really amazing. And I'm sure participants have also enjoyed your perspective on it. And as you said, the future belongs to the home office. Badri, but can you tell me about one of the biggest challenges you personally faced to adapt to this kind of work environment, working from home? What was your personal biggest challenge?
Yeah, thank you, Nupur. So the one of the biggest personal challenges that I faced is obviously the technology for communication and collaboration. So uh, working from home, of course, it has its challenges and the plus and minus and all that, pros and cons. Similarly, working from office has its own pros and cons. But the key challenge that I faced is, if I'm doing some session, for example, a leadership training or whatever I'm doing, it's pretty difficult to do it uh, remotely. It's not easy. We need to build a lot of remote facilitation skills. And where physically you can do as one person, remotely you might need one more person, two people to help you out or something like that. It's not an easy thing. And the bigger the size in remote, more difficult it becomes. And it's not so easy to keep the audience fully listening to you. Some of them switch off, some of them go out, some of them you don't know what they're doing. So it's not so easy. So the main thing that should improve is the technology for collaboration. Do we have better tools? Can we make better video conferencing? Can we look at holograms? Can we look at things like that, which will help us to communicate in a better way? So I think it will take some time, maybe 10 years or more, but we are going to reach there, because the post-pandemic world has completely changed all this. This was the biggest challenge I faced.
Thank you for sharing that, Badri. Uh, as you said, it will take couple of years to be ready for that kind of a work environment. According to you, how would an ideal work from home scenario post pandemic or 10 years down the line would look like? Some, do you have anything in mind? 10 years down the line, it will be like this. As you have mentioned, the holographic images of people as well. So,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have more insights on
So
that.
yeah. So what I have important insight on this is that I feel that it's a matter of choice. So right now the organization is forcing the person. Earlier that was not the case. So now the organization may force the person come to work. So the choice has to be left at the hands of the employees. Each and every employee has the decision and the discretion to decide and the decision to choose. Should I come to work physically or virtually? And the organization should be comfortable with that choice and go ahead with its activities and deliver maximum client satisfaction to the customer with a great organizational culture. This is my ideal vision statement. I don't know if this will be achieved by 2030, but most probably that should be the case rather than they say come 2 days in a week, come 3 days in a week. So which means that that's a very good, you could say, a very euphemistic way of saying I'm not forcing you, but you come. You come on 2 days in a week, but remaining 3 days you don't have to come. So it's up to the person's individual choice. If he feels he cannot do the work sitting in the house, go to office. If he feels he can do from the house rather than going to office, do from house. It's home office. That's the real meaning of home office. The choice is in the hands of the customer. It's not in the hands of the organization. Right now, the organization are acting like control keepers and they are not allowing the shapeshifters. We call ourselves the shapeshifters to manage the things and the other issues that we have. So those are some of the things which we need to manage because I call that market landscape as a shifting sands. Shifting sands, which is the market landscape, it's always shifting, right? If the organization does not manage all this, I think the viability and survival of the organizations in 2030 would be quite different. And I'm not sure if GAFA would be there, but definitely GAFA may be there because I see that they have already taken the first step and are moving towards that way of giving the choice to the customer. If you see LinkedIn, GAFA, the Google, they have all told you do whatever you want. You work from home, work from office. They are slowly coming, veering towards that idea of giving the choice to the employee. The other organizations have not yet come up to that, so they may also not come at all to that. We don't know, but we have to wait and see. But I feel that if you are able to do that, then you should be able to go for.
Hi Badri, Nisha here. We have one more question. Do you think the agile principles will also need to be relooked at in the post-pandemic world? For instance, should the stress on the face-to-face conversation by agile advocates needs to be relooked at? It's by
Yeah,
Sharad.
that's okay. Okay, that's a very good question by Sarath. So yeah, we will have to, instead of relooking at the agile principles, the manifesto, which has been there for last 20-21 years, we may reinterpret it. So we can reinterpret that face-to-face communication as the face could be a physical face, a virtual face, a holographic face, because ultimately it's the face that matters. Because uh, as far as agile is concerned, the reason why they say face to face is we need to have that direct communication, especially from, if we are also aware of neuro linguistic programming, NLP, and also from body psychology and body language and all that, we would see that we have a rich texture of information that we get from every single interaction that we do, transaction that we do with another human, whenever it is face to face. That's the reason they say that we need to have face to face conversation. So now in this case, we reinterpret that as face to face does not necessarily mean physical. It could be phygital. There is a new word that has come, physical and digital together, called as phygital. So phygital is the way to go forward, and that digital could be holographic, or uh, it could also be like in a different way, maybe virtual through video conferencing and things like that. But the ultimate thing I think would be the choice to the employee and having the ability to holographically transport ourselves to any part of the world. I think we're not reached there. Maybe it may take 10, 15 years or whatever it is, but that's what I think should be happening in the future.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you, Badri. With that, we are at the end of the session. And thank you very much, Badri and Jairam, for sharing some quick thoughts with all of us. It was wonderful having you both.